I'll start with a technical challenge by sharing my screen, and if all goes well, that'll start us off on a journey that goes back in time over 30 years. Here we go. 1, 2, or 3. And if all's well, that should be the screen and I can read my name loud and clear. The reason I said we're going back over 30 years ago is that was the time of the start of the concept of a science festival. It all began in the city of Edinburgh in Scotland. Now, this was a time 30 years ago, a time for Edinburgh when derelict land, which had once been seen as a problem, was being turned into an opportunity by the city council through new partnerships. Further back in 1947, Edinburgh had started an international arts festival to give new hope for the future after the war years. Now, in the late 1980s, the City Council decided to highlight the city's new energy by creating a totally new type of festival, a festival of science. This was something radical. Today, it seems straightforward, and we can think of festivals we enjoy like art or music. Whatever our background, we can go to them and get great pleasure. But science was long seen as something not for enjoyment, but instead rather like medicine, something to take because it's good for us. So the City Council faced a challenge, but Edinburgh was full of people working in science. There were several universities, many high-tech companies. The City Council commissioned a marketing survey to seek support from key people in science and technology. And indeed, some said they were keen to be involved. Others were, well, a bit less encouraging. These were some of the comments. "Science is a serious business," said someone. "I just don't understand the concept," said someone else. And the third one simply said, "We would not want to be associated with anything like that." Well, I should say more than 30 years on that some of those quoted went on to become some of the Edinburgh Science Festival's most enthusiastic supporters. Back in the 1980s, the council development team carefully read all the various negative comments, thought about them, and then went straight on ahead with the project. At the time, I was working in Edinburgh in radio. I had a background in mathematical physics, school teaching, journalism, and community activities. I saw the job advert and thought it was impossible, so I applied and was appointed. And in April 1989, with some late snowflakes fluttering in the streets, there was Mr. Boom, the one-man band from the moon, singing a song about the planets of the solar system, with many very small and very well wrapped up Edinburgh children joining in. Meanwhile, in Edinburgh's Botanic Gardens were many hands-on activities and tours of the glass houses. Talks there included the story of pottery fragments found in a Scottish island, pottery fragments that had traces of plant residues that looked rather like remnants from an ancient beer. So Heriot-Watt University's Professor of Brewing kindly agreed to recreate it for the audience to sample, which went extremely well. So well indeed that was the point that a lot of people felt science festivals are here to stay. Well, first to follow Edinburgh were the Orkney Islands at the north of Scotland, the islands where I come from. Now, Orkney has a strong tradition in tourism, and its tourist board wanted to expand the visitor season, and the method they used was to create new festivals at different times of year. Now, I should say Orkney was very different from Edinburgh. Orkney's total population was small, no more than around 20,000. Orkney was several hundred miles from universities and research centres, but there was technology in its North Sea oil terminal and in its farming and fishing industries. And its ancient stone circles showed a tradition of astronomy going back 5,000 years. So we built on the strengths of the islands with topics including oceanography and Arctic ice, underwater archaeology, the design of historic ships, new crops, new ways to get energy from wind and wave and tide, and indeed here in recent years is the world's most powerful tidal turbine designed in Orkney. For the Science Festival, we had atmospheric settings for talks, sometimes with music, sometimes in historic buildings. And over those 30 years, the festival has grown, and today it attracts speakers and visitors for the audience from many countries. Guest speakers have included various Nobel laureates, including Professor Peter Higgs. You can see him down there on the left, and Professor Sir Paul Nurse up there on the top right. Activities in Orkney Science Festival include upcycling workshops, transforming discarded fabric and waste plastic into fashionable accessories. In the centre, that handbag, that's inner cycle tubes it's made from. Down below it, various types of recycled plastic. And on the right, that beautiful dress was made out of men's silk ties. Now, here's the point. It's not what you do that makes a festival, it's how you do it. Wherever you are, whatever the size of your community or its resources, you can create a science festival to promote a vision of your community's future. I can give an example. The small island of North Ronaldsay in Orkney has just 60 people, but they have an ancient breed of sheep living on seaweed, confined to the seashore by a long stone wall. They've a historic standing stone, they've a historic lighthouse as well, but there are those sheep down grazing on seaweed. The people of the island support science festival events with much enthusiasm. They particularly like astronomy events, and just this year they've been awarded International Dark Sky status. Researchers are very interested in the island sheep, as it's been found that seaweed in the diet reduces emissions of the greenhouse gas methane from sheep and cattle. Meanwhile, Orkney Science Festival has had to go online for the past 2 years, and we now have a huge bank of material on YouTube that can be freely accessed by any community or any school anywhere in the world. So, in conclusion, a science festival can be any size, large or small, and it doesn't require large pieces of equipment or big investment. Just thinking freshly and creatively and building what's there, building from what's there locally. You can see, as in the top left, you can see how you can show people how to tan fish skins into leather. Or, top right, you can have seaweed workshops, or beneath, wildlife walks. The aim is to provide insight and enjoyment and moments of exploration and delight when the world seems new again. And that is what science festivals are about.